for two guys that were, one was a criminal, the other one was an idiot.
Yeah.
And if your timing's good, you can do extremely well.
How do you feel about retail, kind of the new wave of younger millennials coming into the space and kind of getting involved? Andy, can you tell us a bit about how you got started in the industry?
Sure, Adam. That was about 35 years ago, and long time ago, yeah. And someone told me that if I wanted to create some wealth, I should go into the stock market, and so I did. I was a sales manager for an electronic chain, and I went from that into the stock market, and one thing led to another, and I underwrote a company and made the mistake, honestly, of underwriting it for two guys that were, one was a criminal, the other one was an idiot.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I had to leave the brokerage business to go run that company.
Yeah. So you learn from your mistakes.
So my shareholders didn't lose out, and I didn't lose out, and that company was a success. It was called Caldera Environmental. It got bought out by a New York listed firm.
Yeah. Okay.
There weren't many stocks, I can tell you, in the early 90s that on the Vancouver Exchange traded over $6, and this was one of them. And
how long ago was that?
It was from 1990 to 1994 when we eventually sold it out to the New York firm.
Those were sort of the glory days of the VSE.
Yeah, I'd say that. Mining wasn't really that strong, but it was okay, I guess. But yeah, that was the glory days of the VSE. And
So tell us about your time as a driller, sort of boots on the ground, and how that kind of led and forayed into mining.
Well, after high school, I spent 4.5 years working the drills before I went to university. And so I knew how to drill. And then anyway, after that company got bought out, someone asked me to raise some money for a gold mining company. And so I raised some money for it, and they spent half the money on drilling. And then I realized, well, if they're going to do that, then I'm going to start a drilling company. And
so you actually owned a drilling company?
I ran my own drilling company for 20 years. We drilled all across Canada, ran up to 7 drills at one time. And yeah, it was a successful company. I only sold out my interest in it 3 years ago to so that I could focus on what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you have quite a bit of expertise in terms of, drilling, drill results, sort of the geology and the geological aspects of, mining. You're not just kind of a finance guy. You know what's happening with the drills, the technical stuff.
Yeah, I've been around that enough, and enough geologists, and to have a pretty good understanding of in general terms of what goes on in mineral exploration, development, and ultimately mining.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, we all know the junior space is very cyclical. Commodities are very cyclical. Tell us a story from the bear market days. I'm sure you have quite a few. You've been around for the bear, the bull. Do you have any sort of stories that stand out from the, when times got really tough?
Yeah, a couple. I would say, timing's everything in the market.
Yeah.
And if your timing's good, you can do extremely well. If your timing's bad, things don't work out well. And I guess I've got some examples of both. One of the companies I started drilled off the largest iron ore discovery in Canada in 50 years. And unfortunately, we were 6 months too late. And our company went from a market cap of next to nothing to 150 million. And our neighbor got bought out for hundreds of millions of dollars 6 months earlier. We didn't, and the company went all the way back down to a couple million.
Commodity prices just fell off?
Commodity prices fell out of the iron ore market, and it dropped from 150 a ton to 45 a ton. Yeah, and so that was a bad example. But when your timing's right, like Millennial Lithium,
yeah,
and I don't know if we got a second on that, but I'll tell you that one of my best friends and did his PhD in lithium chemistry, and for 5 years, he kept saying, no, it's not a good time to do a lithium deal. 2015, he said it was the time to do it, and boom, perfect timing. And Millennial was very successful to go from 3 million market cap to 450 million market cap over 2.5 years.
So in terms of current projects, obviously PRYM is one, and PRYM is primarily copper, gold, silver.
Gold, silver.
Okay.
what else are you working on? I know you're doing some stuff in the lithium space. American Lithium, can you give us sort of a little lowdown on what's going on there?
Sure. American Lithium's it's an American-born story. It's got a claystone sedimentary deposit right in Nevada.
Yep.
It's 5 minutes out of the mining center of Tonopah. We have water, power, 310 acres of our own private land that we're building a pilot plant on.
Yep.
And it's a good lithium story. We're looking at a couple other interesting pieces to put in the company. Lately, we've been getting a lot of exposure thanks to Elon and his fascination with the Nevada claystones, and having come from building or being part of the build of a brine operator in Argentina.
Yeah, which is Millennial.
Yeah. I thought that the whole push for a domestic source of lithium in North America was going to gain a lot more traction, and that's why I started American Lithium 3 years ago. And so,
from what I'm not an expert on lithium extraction processes, but sort of from what I've read, brine is sort of the cheaper, more economic way, but given, Elon and the renewed interest, something about table salt, using table salt to extract lithium. He's bringing all this new attention to the hard rock claystone deposits, which were normally seen to be uneconomic because it's too expensive.
Well, they're economic, but they're not economic at a lithium carbonate price that's under $7,000 a ton. Yes, the brines are effectively the lowest cost of production, and that's because you rely on solar power and wind to do the evaporation over 2.5 years.
Okay.
But a lot of the brines haven't proven to be really successful yet. The real brines that have been successful are the brines in Atacama because of their grade and their low levels of deleterious minerals in them. Magnesium, for instance.
Okay.
And
another drawback would be the delay, right? Like, isn't there a delay from brine having to evaporate? That
2.5 years. 2.5 years. So what happens if you've got a bunch of big open ponds and then you have one bad winter where there's a lot of rain or a lot of precipitation, and that delays maybe your concentration through evaporation by 6 months.
Okay, so there's external variables that you can't control.
And the biggest problem with those is that to make every ton of lithium carbonate, you need to use 500,000 liters of fresh water.
I didn't know that.
Now that's in a place where water is a extremely rare commodity. Yes, you've got local communities, indigenous groups, the copper mining industry, all fighting for fresh water. And that's the problem with operating the brines in South America.
Interesting. I didn't know that was such a crucial kind of crux.
It's a major big deal, and that's what stopped SQM. SQM applied to the Chilean government to have an increase in their production from about 200,000 tons annually to 320,000 tons, and they were turned down because of the lack of fresh water. And so anyway, that's another component that opens up the door for domestic production through pegmatites, hard rocks, and sedimentary deposits, the claystones. And look, I think there's something even more important. I'm passionate about this. I will just keep going on. Go back, think about the gold market in the 1960s. Actually, the 70s. 1971, you had the collapse of Bretton Woods, and you had the decoupling of the US dollar from gold and free floating US dollar and all other currencies pegged to the US dollar. What happened? The gold ceiling of $35 an ounce was removed, and gold ran to as high as $800 an ounce by 1980. What else happened during that time? You had the advent of heap leach open pit mining in Nevada. Previous to the 70s, gold was mined in low, narrow vein, high grade underground deposits. Expensive, high grades. All of a sudden, gold goes up in value by 20, 30, 40 times. And what do you get? You get big, open pit, low grade mines operating at 1 gram per ton. 1 part per million. And so American Barrick, Newmont, Battle Mountain, Placer Dome, they all come on the Franco-Nevada, they all come on the scene. And the whole mining industry changes to the point where Nevada is producing 7% of the world's gold. That's going to happen in the lithium trade. Lithium's gone from next to nothing a ton to as high as 25,000 a ton 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, prior to the last 10 years, what were the primary sources of, or last 20 years, what was lithium used for?
Ceramics, lubricants, pharmaceuticals, and in some steel components, but very little.
Yeah.
Very little.
So now it's, moving forward as we kind of move to a technological economy, we're going to need lithium for everything.
Great. If grade 10 chemists will appreciate this. Lithium is number 3 on the periodic table.
Yeah.
There is nothing lighter and
lightest
small.
metal.
It is the lightest and smallest metal. And that's why it makes the perfect metal for storage batteries. Wherever you need mobility. Imagine walking around with a big lead acid battery on your phone. It just wouldn't work. Yeah. Imagine trying to drive a car that was lead acid batteries. It might get you to the end of the street, but that would be it.
Yeah.
Lithium ion batteries are the future. They're not the future. They're here for my lifetime. So,
and I've noticed it's sort of a cocktail. That's what kind of Elon calls it, of different elements, right? There's nickel, there's cobalt, there's lithium, there's all these different kind of. Is lithium sort of your number one in terms of the battery metals?
Lithium. It's not going to get engineered out of batteries anytime soon. And listen, there's sodium, sulfur, there's zinc, air. There are other things in. I don't want to say development. I'll say in
conceptual.
Yeah, a little past that. I mean, they work bench scale. They work on the lab, but they're nowhere near commercialization yet.
Yeah.
And they will have certain applications. The lithium-ion battery is here to stay. It's just engineering to make it better. The battery manufacturers are going to eventually engineer cobalt out. Soon, I think that you'll see CATL or Tesla announce a lithium ferric phosphate battery, so LFP, and that's the new one that's going to come. And it won't have
a million mile.
That'll be the million-mile battery, and
apparently we're still a few years out from that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't bet against Elon Musk.
Oh, I would never. He's definitely. There's a few guys I wouldn't bet against in this industry, and he is definitely one of them. It's interesting to see the following he's created among millennial and kind of retail investors too. He's sort of made this, I go on Reddit and these different Facebook groups, and I'm seeing this whole new wave of investors, people that would never have even think to touch a lithium stock. But, now that Elon has kind of come out and said, it's okay, I'm here. They're obviously investors in Tesla, but now they're branching out into other things. And I'm seeing this. Sometimes it worries me. It's almost a sense of a perma bull kind of, but I think maybe they'll learn. The mistakes will be made and they'll learn from those mistakes. Well, but
I think.
How do you feel about retail, kind of the new wave of younger millennials coming into the space and kind of getting involved?
I think guys like you are helping them out. I think that's really important. Like I said, I've been around this space for a while, and I can tell you that most investors and most operators in the resource business, mining, mineral exploration business, have gray hair.
Hey, I got a couple myself. I'm not gonna lie.
It's the industry.
It's only been 8 years in the industry, but it feels like a lot longer.
There aren't many young investors in this space, but mining is not going away. No. And look, I get the environmental push. I get that we need to do things sustainably and have some concern for the environment. But at the same time, everybody out there that's gonna listen to you today couldn't be doing it without mining.
Yeah, and I mean, in a sense, they do go hand in hand, right? In order to have electric cars, we need to mine lithium,
and so we need to teach the younger investors about it.
Yeah,
we do need to teach them about it. We do need to get them engaged, and whether it's gold mining, investing in gold stocks or lithium stocks or copper or nickel or We need you need to carry the good word out there. We need to see greater involvement.
Yeah, totally. And speaking about retail kind of investors, how do you feel about trading versus investing? Do you think kind of the money, where's the money made? Have you been a trader in your life?
I have been a trader. 4 or 5 years ago, I traded for a few months. The markets were quiet. I wasn't working on a deal. It was before Millennial was put together.
Yep.
And so I did. I traded Google for 3 or 4 months. That just one stock, just traded it. And
how'd that go?
it went really well.
What were you using to buy and sell? Were you using technicals?
Just technicals off of day charts and trading within the rails. And
Yep.
like a stock like Google trades plus minus $15 every day.
Yeah.
And when you're only paying $10 online to do a trade, if you're trading 1,000 shares of it, now I get that's you got to put up margin for 1.4 million, but if you're only,
it's a lot of money.
I know, but at $10 for that trade, you only need the stock to move 1 cent to break even on your buy. You really do. And so I'm trading, but I like trading the junior resource companies when I'm not busy operating them.
Yeah,
and that's where I wanted to get. I don't have time right now to trade.
Yeah,
but I like to own them. There's several I
do
invest in others.
Do you mind sort of giving us a little sneak peek as to some other stuff you've been buying?
Well, I think we've had this discussion before. I like Unigold.
Yeah.
I've been buying Unigold lately. I just bought some more at 35 cents. I bought some more at 41 cents.
The drill results are coming out pretty soon here.
I feel good. I know that project from 2011. I like the project.
It's an old project, right? They've been around for 20 years.
Yeah, it's a good jurisdiction. The trouble is the only limiting factor there is there aren't many buyers, at the end of the day. But
do you think the buyers are afraid of the jurisdictional risk?
No, I just think, it's a small area. I don't know.
Tiny island.
Yeah.
But there's only one operating mine, which is Barrick.
That's right.
And only 3 other public companies.
So Barrick's your natural buyer, and that they could be a buyer for Unigold unless Unigold tries to do it on their own. I do believe they're going to get a couple million ounces there, and
so I mean they were reporting 2 million, but that was from 2015. And since then, they've been hitting 30 meters, 9 grams a ton, pretty significant.
I think it's
results,
growing.
right?
Yeah. So I like that.
Interesting. What else are you looking at? I think you mentioned Cordoba was around.
I do. I buy Cordoba.
Friedland's deal.
And he's another guy to not bet against.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, he's a bit of a cowboy, but
yeah, he's different. And but he, I've made money with Friedland in the past, and he hasn't done anything new in a while. He's getting a little older. I think he's still got one good one left in him, and he recently, Cordoba trades at 11 cents or 10 cents. Mm-hmm. There's 900 million shares out.
Yep.
He owns 600 million of them or thereabouts.
I would think they'd be doing a rollback.
They are. They're going to do a 30 for 1 consolidation, which pegs the stock about $3. And honestly, if I go back all the way to 1985, I guess, and Galactic, and then All North, and then Venezuelan goldfields and Indochina goldfields, and all these deals that Friedland's done over the years, and Ivanhoe Energy, they all hung around that $3 mark. Even Ivanhoe, before it had its run on the Mongolian asset, was a $3 stock, and then it ran to 20. And
I remember Cordoba when I was first introduced to it. I saw some Bonanza grade 4,400 grams a ton was trading at $1.50, and I think I bought a few thousand shares, but obviously where it's at today, quite a drop.
Yeah,
you think there's still life in that one?
I do.
Okay.
I've been buying a lot of that stock. I think that it's relative. Like when there's 900 million shares out, you can buy a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's no shortage of supply.
But I like that one.
Shares.
I like that. I just joined the board of a company called Canark.
Okay.
I really like Canark. I just joined it as an independent.
And what is Canark?
Canark's a company that Brad Cook took public in 1985.
Wow, long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago in Eskay Creek.
Golden Triangle?
Golden Triangle surrounded Murray Pesham's famous Eskay Creek mine, and the company started from then. And over the years, he's never consolidated the stock. He has continued to try and make some things work here and there, and it is asset rich, and it's got a project in it called the Polaris Mine. It's the old Polaris Taku. It's the richest underground gold deposit in Western Canada that's not in production. It's 1 million ounces at over 10 grams.
Golden Triangle is an interesting, difficult place. I've been following, the Metalis, Garibaldi kind of stories, and there's been a lot of heartbreak.
Yeah, so there are a few things. One, it's seasonal. Two, it's incredibly rugged, and so you rely on helicopters for a lot of your exploration. And then probably thirdly and most importantly, it's the coastal range. It's really smashed up rocks. Yeah. So, you can drill here and then get a great zone, and 30 feet over it's changed because of some fault. And that's the problem with a lot of the stuff in the Golden Triangle. But there's been some very successful mines there. So anyway, I like Canark. There's a few of them I like. I put my money mostly into my own things,
I like to see that. Skin in the game. Yeah. I noticed one of your companies right now seems to be, looks like something's cooking, Apollo Gold. Can you give us a little tidbit on Apollo?
Yeah, Apollo, we funded it, put about $8 million in the treasury, and because PRYM was strong and American Lithium was strong, it had a quick run to $1.40 or something like that, and it's kind of pulled back now to the 85-cent range. And we started off with a small acquisition of a pretty good epithermal grassroots prospect in Chile.
Yep.
But wintertime couldn't get into it. We'll get in 30 days and we'll start to do some work on it. I like the prospect, but more importantly, we're heading to Peru. We've been working on some pretty interesting acquisitions. We're probably going to say something to the market in the next few days.
So keep an eye on Apollo.
Yeah, it'll be like sort of like how PRYM works. We'll bring a couple good assets to it. We'll bring a team that's familiar with the region, that can work in the region, and some good local help, and then we'll introduce it to everybody. And yeah.
Well, I mean,
Apollo.
If it's anything like Millennial, PRYM, or American Lithium, I'm sure it's investors will be in for quite a ride. Just like to say thank you again, Andy, for being here with me today. Much appreciated. And it was an absolute pleasure getting to pick your brain. Really appreciate that.
Pleasure. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, Andy.